Well, friends, dear students, we are going to the 19th lecture in the series of mechanics of metal forming, and if you recall back the plastic instability that we started with in the last lecture. We considered the first necking condition, second necking condition, and where we took the example of instability of a thin tube under internal pressure. We also took considerations related to second necking, wherein then we proceeded to a case where the instability under complex state of stasis in there. So, if you recall those equations, especially when we started with the flow rule concept and then landed on to equation number 38, and then subsequently when we manipulated and substituted the values corresponding those situations, then we could also see that the second necking condition where the d epsilon d sigma bar minus d sigma bar star and the correspond multiplied by corresponding strain, generalized strain increment must be less than 0, and then if you recall the equation number 48, where we could see from the considers construction that 1 was equal to 1 by generalized stress multiplied by increment of the generalized star divided by generalized strain increment. So, starting with this, we would continue with this situation and especially with respect to the equation number 48. So, let us evaluate the critical subtangent and recall the figure number 5 here just on. So, for very simplicity, consider the case of a material which is subjected to 3 principal stresses, that is sigma I, where I takes the value 1, 2, 3, and that for each of the component the applied load is say Pi, again I 1, 2, 3, which is acting on the area Ai, which is shown here in figure 5. So, you can see that this figure, the surface area Ai and the Pi is the load working. So, the Pi is a tensorial form and this area Ai is subjected to load Pi. So, one can simply write that Pi is equal to sigma I multiplied by Ai, that is a very simple principle. And the yield criteria therefore can be generalized stress square minus twice of the function of this stress tensor, and that should be equal to 0. That is what is the simple yield criteria. So, in summation, if we put the equation 50 in the summation notation, so with equation 43, it can be written here as shown in equation number 51, like that means increment in the increment format, that is the stress, generalized stress increment is star divided by generalized strain increment, and that should be equal to 1 by generalized stress, and over the summation where I ranges from 1 to 3, in the numerator side f, which is the function we took earlier, and sigma I, and multiplied by d sigma I star divided by generalized strain increment. So, if we differentiate the equation number 49, so one can put it in the two component, that is d sigma I is equal to d pi divided by ai minus sigma I divided by ai and d aai. So, this equation 52 can further be extended it here. It is shown that d divided by generalized strain increment would be equal to the summation over I is equal to 1 to 3, and when it is 1 by ai deva pi by deva epsilon j, and the strain increment j divided by generalized strain increment minus sigma I divided by capital AI, and then dai by d epsilon multiplied by d epsilon d epsilon bar, that is the generalized strain increment. Let us consider d sigma I as d sigma I star at the point of instability as explained earlier. So, from equation number 36 we can write down that d epsilon I divided by d epsilon bar, it is equal to 1 by generalized stress multiplied by deva f by deva sigma I. And if you substitute this value of d epsilon I by d epsilon bar into equation 53, so it can be this expression which is shown here in equation number 55 can be achieved. So, one can see at the instability point on the left side, if we write, it becomes two measures, the summation component and another which is derived from the right, the second part of the equation 53. So, one has to be noticed very carefully here. So, using equation 48 and 51, this the critical subtangent can be evaluated easily, and this subtangent, that is z inverse, that is 1 by z, it becomes is equal to 1 by generalized stress multiplied by d generalized stress divided by d, that is the generalized strain increment at instability point, and this can be further written as what is in the expanded form into equation number 56. So, that means j 1 by z becomes 1 by sigma bar cube over the summation of having these two major components. The first component for deva f by deva sigma and then 1 by ai, and again second summation where j ranges from 1 to 3 and where the deva pi divided by deva epsilon j multiplied by deva f by deva sigma j. This is the first term, and then the second term in 53, that is sigma I, and then deva f by deva sigma I 1 by d ai divided by d epsilon I. So, this is what is the second term. So, 1 by z is shown here in equation number 56. If you apply it this condition for isotropic material for an example, so the 1 and especially let us take the 1. So, if you recall, 1 Mises yield criteria gives the generalized stress square is equal to 3 by 2, and that was the deuteric stress increment, and then multiplied by deuteric stress increment. So, this can be written like 2f, which is equal to 3 by 2 over the summation I is equal to 1 to 3, and deuteric is the stress, that is sigma I prime, and then the whole square of that. So, this is what the this particular 1 Mises yield criteria can be written in the equation number 57, where the sigma I prime, which is the deuteric part of the stress tensor, is nothing but sigma I minus 1 by 3, and over the summation k is equal to 1 to 3 and sigma k. And if associated flow rule, that is of the 1 Mises flow rule, is applied, and which is d by epsilon I divided by sigma I prime, and that is equal to 3 by 2 d epsilon bar divided by sigma bar, or d epsilon I divided by d epsilon bar, it becomes equal to 3 by 2 and I prime divided by generalized stress. So, if one uses equation number 54, can be written as deva f by deva sigma I is equal to 3 by sigma I prime, that is the deuteric part term. And if it is substituted, this equation is substituted back into equation number 56, one can find the for an isotropic material which obeys. So, substituting this in equation 66, the critical subtangent can be obtained for an isotropic material that obeys 1 Mises yield criteria. So, it can be obtained as 1 by z, which is equal to 9 by 4 sigma bar cube, and over the summation of I is equal to 1 to 3. Inside summation there are two terms. The first term, which is sigma I dash, that is sigma I prime divided by ai, and then the second summation, that is j is equal to 1 to 3, and this summation has got a term which is the deuteric part j, that is sigma j prime, and deva pi by deva epsilon j. And on the other hand, second term of the first summation is minus deva I prime square multiplied by deva I and dai divided by ai and d epsilon I. This is what has been shown in equation 62. For an incompressible material, as we know that 1 by ai multiplied by dai divided by d epsilon I equals minus 1. Therefore, we can substitute this value for the incompressible material which is there in equation 63 into the above equation 62. So, one can obtain the critical subtangent as 1 by z which would be equal to 9 by 4 and sigma bar cube, and then the summation which I is equal to 1 to 3, and again two term. The first term is sigma I prime, that is the derivative part, divided by ai and then multiplied by the summation j is equal to 1 to 3, and this summation has got term that is sigma j prime, derivative part of the stress j, multiplied by deva pi by deva epsilon j. On the other hand, second term corresponding to the first summation I is equal to 1 to 3 is sigma I prime square sigma I, and that's the what has been given in equation 64. Now, if we further differentiate and if we take the 64 and further simplify, then the summation j is equal to I is to 3 and sigma j prime multiplied by deva pi divided by deva epsilon j would be equal to sigma I prime. Summation over summation j is equal to 1 to 3 and deva pi by deva epsilon j, and sigma j prime by sigma I prime, and that would be equal to sigma I prime, and summation over the summation j is equal to 1 to 3 deva pi by deva epsilon j, and then multiplied by d epsilon j divided by d epsilon I, and that equals sigma I prime, that is the derivative part, multiplied by dpi divided by d epsilon I, and that is what has been shown here in 65. And as we know that d epsilon I by sigma I prime, that is the derivative part, equals d epsilon j divided by sigma j prime. So, if we substitute this thing in equation 64, so the 64 would be reduced to that is the critical subtangent would become 1 by z, which equal to 9 by 4 sigma bar cube, and over the summation I is equal to 3, I is equal to 1 to 3, and then the two term as said. So, first term relates to sigma I prime square divided by ai multiplied by dpi by d epsilon I, plus second term is as usual sigma I prime square sigma I, and so assuming all that, if we assume that all the load attain a maximum value at the onset of necking, when necking starts, that means all derivatives of the load are 0 at instability, and therefore the expression for critical subtangent which has been just given in 66, it can now be calculated as shown here in 66. That is, it becomes 1 by z is equal to 9 by 4 sigma bar cube, and over the summation I is equal to 1 to 3, and sigma I uh, uh, prime square and sigma I, and this can further be simplified as 1 by z, which is equal to 9 by 4 sigma bar cube, and 3 summation multiplied by 3 summation. The first term of the summation is sigma 1 is prime square sigma 1 plus sigma 2 prime square sigma 2 plus sigma 3 prime square sigma 3. So this is what the equation 68 is, the critical subtangent. Let us try with the simple tension case to calculate the critical subtangent. So if in a simple tension test where sigma 1 is the only stress, if we take it as sigma, and because sigma 2 and sigma 3 is 0, therefore one can write that sigma 1 prime, that is derivative part, is nothing but 2 by 3 sigma, and derivative part 2, that is the sigma 2 prime, is minus 1 by 3 sigma, and therefore sigma 3 prime becomes minus 1 by 3 sigma. So if we substitute this in the equation 68, so one can get that critical subtangent is, that is 1 by z is 9 by 4 sigma bar cube multiplied by 4 by 9 and sigma bar cube, and that is nothing but, because sigma bar cube on the numerator and denominator cancels out, and 4 cancels out, 9, so that becomes equal to 1, and that is what is expected, which and has been already derived if you see equation number 30. So this subtangent, and one can see in the figure as well, where it is equal to 1 by z is equal to from the 0 to the right hand side of the figure. So this was the case when von Mises criteria was assumed for the instability. If we assume the material to be following the Tresca criteria, then as you know, if you apply for the Tresca criteria, then sigma 1 sigma 2 would be lying between sigma 1 and sigma 3, where sigma 1 would be the greatest one. So in that case, sigma bar square would be sigma 1 minus sigma 3 is square, and therefore 2f, that is the function, that is the flow function for the Tresca criteria, would be 2f is equal to sigma 1 minus sigma 3 square. And if you apply the associated flow rule, that is the associated flow rule as d epsilon ij is equal to deva f divided by deva sigma ij multiplied by d lambda, and since deva f by deva sigma 1 is equal to 1, deva f by deva sigma 2 is equal to 0, and deva f by deva sigma 3 is equal to minus 1. So if you substitute here, so one can get that d epsilon 1 is equal to minus d epsilon 3, and that is equal to the generalized strain increment, that is d generalized, that is epsilon bar, and the same has been shown here in equation 75. So and since d epsilon 2 is 0, so the critical subtangent for the Tresca can be evaluated from the equation 56 as, and taking into consideration that summation j is equal to I, j is equal to 1 to 3 deva pi by deva epsilon j multiplied by deva f by deva sigma j equals over the summation j is equal to 1 to 3 deva pi by deva epsilon j deva f by deva sigma j deva epsilon I by deva epsilon I multiplied by deva sigma I by deva sigma I. So if we take this into consideration, so it becomes over the summation j is equal to 1 to 3 deva pi by deva epsilon I deva f by deva sigma I and deva epsilon I by deva epsilon j multiplied by deva sigma I by deva sigma j, and that equals summation I is equal to 1 to 3 deva pi by deva sigma I epsilon I multiplied by deva f by deva sigma I multiplied by d sigma bar by d sigma bar multiplied by d epsilon bar by d epsilon bar. So that's the, and that would be simply equal to deva f by deva sigma I multiplied by d pi by d epsilon I, and this is what has been shown in equation 76. And as we are aware that d sigma ij multiplied by d epsilon ij can be written as d that is the multiplication of incremental generalized strain multiplied by incremental generalized strain. So then we can also, considering that 1 by ai multiplied by dai by d epsilon I equals minus 1. So considering these two things, we can further take the equation 56 and substitute this. So equation 56 reduces to the critical subtangent for Tresca as 1 by z is equal to 1 by sigma bar cube, and over the summation I is equal to 1 to 3, and within the over the summation there are two terms. Then first term is within the bracket is sigma f by deva f by deva sigma I square, then multiplied by summation of two term as first term as 1 by ai multiplied by dpi by d epsilon I plus sigma I. This is what the second term. And also we know that deva f by deva sigma 1 equal sigma 1 minus sigma 3, and that is nothing but the generalized stress here from the Tresca, and deva f by deva sigma 3 is equal to minus of sigma 1 minus sigma 3, and that is nothing but the minus of the generalized stress. And also deva f by deva sigma 2 is 0. So if we take into consideration all these, then the equation 78 becomes that for the critical subtangent in Tresca as 1 by z is equal to 1 by sigma bar multiplied by summation of 4 terms. So the first term in the bracket is 1 by a1 multiplied by dp1 divided by d epsilon 1 plus second term is 1 by a3 dp3 by d epsilon 3 plus sigma 1 plus sigma 3. And if all loads attain a maximum value, at the instability, as usual at the instability it has to be, then one can write down simply that 1 by z is nothing but sigma 1 plus sigma 3 by generalized stress, and that is what has been shown in equation 81. In fact, in simple tension where sigma 1 and sigma 1 can be taken as sigma, and that can also be taken as generalized stress, and sigma 2 and sigma 3 is 0, and therefore one can check from equation 81 that sigma z, that is equal. Okay, so this is what has been there. Now let us take another example where a long thin tube tubular cylinder which is long enough, and let us take the instability of this long thin tube cylinder which is subjected to internal pressure P. So if we look at this figure, figure number 6 here, so the length of the tube is L, the thickness of the tube is taken as T, and the radius is taken as small r, and this tube is subjected to internal pressure P. So let us consider the instability of this tube. Please note that the both ends of the tube is closed and it is subjected to an internal pressure P. So the circumferential, axial and radial strain increment can easily be calculated. So we can calculate this as circumferential, radial and axial, the strains as, that is d epsilon 1, d epsilon 2 and d epsilon 3. So d epsilon 1 can be taken as dr by r, d epsilon 2 can be taken as dl by l, and d epsilon 3 can be taken as dt by t, and the corresponding load then one can calculate as P1, P2 and P3, as P3 is 0. So the P1 can be taken as 2RLP, and P2 can be taken as because it is a cross section, so it becomes pi r square P. The areas on which the pressure stresses sigma 1 and sigma 2 acts, that can also be calculated, and it will become, that is the A1 to be 2LT and A2 to be 2 pi RT, and therefore one can calculate sigma 1 sigma 2 as, that means sigma 1 is nothing but P1 by A1, and that would be equal to 2RLP by 2LT, and that is equal to PR by T. And on the other hand, sigma 2 would be P2 by A2, and that becomes pi r square by P divided by 2 pi RT, and that is equal to PR by 2T, and sigma 2 therefore is equal to 1 by 2 sigma 1. Area A3 has not been considered because P3 is 0, this is to be noted. So if the constant volume of the tube is taken as capital V, then one can correlate this area with, in terms of the volume, total volume of the cylinder. So that means A1 can be written as 2LT, and that is 2 pi r LT by pi r, and that is simply capital V by pi r. And similarly A2 can be written as V by L, and these two has been shown here in equation 87. Now as you know, the term 1 by AI by dAI by d epsilon I, it's a term, and that can be further extended into this format, which is shown here in equation 88. So this can be extended in the format like 1 by 2 LT multiplied by d by dr of V by pi r, that is the area A1, and multiplied by dr by d epsilon 1, and that can be further reduced, simplified, and that will be equal to minus 1. Similarly, 1 by A2 dA2 by d epsilon 2 can be written as 1 by 2 pi RL multiplied by d by dl of V by L and multiplied by dl by d epsilon 2, and that once it is simplified, that also comes out to be minus 1. So that is true enough. So that means the critical subtangent can easily be evaluated, and that what we have done from equation 66, provided the material is assumed to be isotropic. So that means in this particular situation, what we get? We get that 1 by z, the critical subtangent, is nothing but 9 by 4 sigma bar cube, and there are then three terms, two major terms, which is multiplication. So the first major term has again two terms, as first term has sigma 1 sigma 1 prime square by A1 multiplied by dP1 by d epsilon 1, and second term is sigma 2 prime square by A2 and dP2 by d epsilon 2. This is the first term, and then on the second term has two more terms, where the first term is sigma 1 prime square sigma 1 plus sigma 2 prime square sigma 2. This is what has been shown, that is the critical subtangent in this particular case for the isotropic material is in equation 89. Now please remember that 1 by A1 by dP1 by d epsilon 1 can be written as 1 by A1 dP1 by dr multiplied by dr by d epsilon 1, and that is equal to 1 by 2 LT d by dr for 2 RLP multiplied by r, and that would be equal to simply PR by T, and that is nothing but sigma 1. And similarly for 1 by A2 dP2 by d epsilon 2 will be equal to 1 by 2 pi RT multiplied by d by dl of term pi r square p multiplied by dl by d epsilon 2, and that equals 0. And because P1 is equals 2r LP and P2 equals pi r square p, so A1 becomes 2 LT and A2 becomes 2 pi RT. So if you substitute all these, and also sigma 1 prime is equal to sigma 1 minus 1 by 3 sigma 1 plus sigma 2 from the derivative part, and that is equal to 1 by 3 twice sigma 1 minus sigma 2, and that is nothing but half of sigma 1. So, and likewise the second derivative, that is sigma 2 prime, is sigma 2 minus 1 by 3 sigma 1 plus sigma 2, and that equals 1 by 3 multiplied by 2 sigma 1 minus sigma 1, 2 sigma 2 minus sigma 1, and that is equal to 0. So if you substitute these, that is the sigma 1 derivative part of the stress 1 and stress 2 and other things in equation 89, we get very simplified form as 1 by z is equal to 9 by 4 sigma bar cube multiplied by summation 2 terms. First has sigma 1 square by 4 multiplied by sigma plus sigma 1 square by 4 multiplied by sigma, and that is nothing but 9 by 8 sigma 1 cube divided by sigma bar cube. So the generalized stress can now be easily written as, that is generalized stress sigma bar is equal to under root 1 by 2 sigma 1 minus sigma 2 square plus sigma 2 minus sigma 3 square plus sigma 3 minus sigma 1 square, and over root, all these things are over root, and that can further be written as simply 1 by root under root 3 by 2 sigma 1, and therefore the critical subtangent becomes 1 by z, which is equal to 9 by 8, and sigma 1 cube divided by, if you substitute the generalized stress in place, so divided by root 3 by 2 sigma 1 cube, and that is nothing but root 3. So what we get? We get z is equal to 1 by root 3, and that is what has been shown in equation 75. So these are the simple manipulation, and to show that the critical subtangent for both the cases, it can comes into different forms, and the role of instability is established. So this is what has been the instability problems. I would request you to solve more and more problems to solve the different situations of instability, like we took this here, the two different examples of cylinders, thin cylinders. One can also take the spherical cell also, a thin spherical cell subjected to internal pressure P, and one can study, and likewise this is what is the a direction to judge the instability for different situations. So with this I would like to thank you for your patience in this lecture, and I will also request to go through the objective problems on the web and justify your understanding of this particular lecture. So thank you once again, and please give your feedback, because this gives us a chance to look into our weaknesses, and please do not forget, give your feedback. The feedbacks are available on the web in the form of the lecture quality, the video quality, the slide quality, the questions which has been the quality of that, and then the interactive, the once a user interact on the site, so how it looks, how it is helpful, or so all these parameter has been kept. You can communicate, give your feedback, so that we can improve upon for the future to develop. So thank you once again.